Hi, this is Cameron with the Sea Butters channel here, taking a look at a comparison between the Thinkpad Yoga right here and the Microsoft Surface Pro 3 that just launched today. The first thing I wanted to discuss is the different specs of the devices. I'm not really going to get into too many details on the actual internals, the processor and everything, because they all have comparable options in i3, i5, i7 options, i3, i5, i7 options, 8 gig RAM, 4 gig RAM, 4 gig RAM, 8 gig RAM. It's pretty comparable. The Thinkpad Yoga does take a 2.5-inch SSD, where the Surface Pro is, it is what it is. You can't upgrade anything. So let's look firstly at the screen between these two devices. Both of these are set to max brightness. The Thinkpad Yoga is a 1080p screen. And let's take a look here at viewing angles. So fairly good all around. One thing the Thinkpad Yoga does have an issue with is ghosting. There are some issues with this particular panel where things will stay on the screen longer than they're supposed to. Let's take a look at the Surface Pro 3. 2160 by 1440p display. Also very gorgeous viewing angles. Of course, we lost our keyboard there, which we'll get into that in a second. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the keyboard. As many of you may know, ThinkPads are known for their really awesome keyboards. And the Thinkpad Yoga is no exception, although it isn't as good as other ThinkPads that I've used. It has really nice typing. Really good response, pretty good travel, and of course you've got that classic ThinkPad track point right in the middle there, which makes it really easy to move between using the mouse, going back and forth as I'm doing right there. You probably can't see too well, and then going straight into typing. So you really don't have to move your hand to operate up the mouse and continue typing and going on your way. So the keyboard's pretty good. Now with the Surface Pro 3, the keyboard is a little bit flimsy, especially comparatively. But then again, it's only half-inch thick, or not even half-inch. I don't know what I was saying. Probably a fourth of an inch. I don't know what the true spec on it is, but you're still able to So it's really not too bad, especially with the wedge functionality that Microsoft's added in there, where you can bump the keyboard down from being flat on the desk, which is really awkward, to bumping up, giving it a little bit of a wedge shape. That gives you a little more bounce as you're typing, and it's actually quite good. As you could see, I typed that sentence no issue. I can type pretty fast on it, no problem. So no track point on this keyboard. So all in all, of course, the Thinkpad Yoga wins in terms of keyboard design. So let's talk about the track pads on each of these. The Thinkpad Yoga has a really nice feel to it. It's super smooth, really high-grade components on it, and you can click both on the top left here and the top right, and also on the bottom left and bottom right, which gives you quite a bit of movement capability. It's easy to be using the track one and click with your thumb. So anyways, that's more of a ThinkPad deal, but the trackpad is also very smooth on this Surface. I have no complaints. It actually feels very similar in texture to the Thinkpad Yoga, and The only place it's a little bit lacking is in the clicking capability. So sometimes I've noticed it's a little bit hard to get it to respond, but I may just be getting used to the device. It's really not too bad, but it is definitely more awkward than the larger trackpad on the Thinkpad Yoga. Okay, so let's move on to weight characteristics. Well, first let's talk input devices still. Let's talk about the Thinkpad Yoga, which includes a stylus with a 1 button, and the Surface Pro, which has the Surface Pro 3 pen with dual buttons, 1 note button, and there you go. The main differentiator between these two pens is the Thinkpad Yoga has a place to put this right in the case so you won't lose the pen, where the Surface, you know, it comes with a tab and you can strap it on, but it's just kind of flipping off the side of the device, which is a negative, but you also get a weightier, more functional stylus that you can still, you know, for example, you can still hook it on the edge like this. So you can do that with your Surface pen, and that works fairly well. You just got to be careful with it. So let's talk about the capabilities. So the Surface Pro 3 pen lets you do something like this, where you click the 1 note button, turns on your computer, you can instantly start writing notes, and that's pretty awesome. Over here on the Thinkpad Yoga side of things, you kind of have to go to 1 note by yourself, and it then functions accordingly. So the Thinkpad Yoga, in terms of pen input, is not bad. While this is kind of a flimsy device, not that, you know, it's not great, but it definitely gets the job done. Has responsive, has touch levels. I believe it's a Wacom device on the Thinkpad Yoga as well, versus the N-Trig on the Surface Pro 3, but really I haven't noticed too much of a difference. I'm not a big drawer, a big artist on these devices, but I do play around a little bit, and they're pretty comparable. The pressure levels do trigger, you know, you push harder, it writes harder, so they both are able to do that fairly well. So let's talk about the weight of these devices, and basically the usability. Let's talk about usability between these two in terms of tablet mode. So the Thinkpad Yoga is able to bend the screen back, all the way back, and the keys suck in on the back, and then you've got this device, which I mentioned is a 1080p screen. That's a 16:9 aspect, so you do get a very thin area. It's pretty tall, it looks kind of wonky, and this device weighs about 3.6 pounds, so it's fairly heavy. So if you want to use it like in the modern UI, it functions as a tablet. However, it's not something I'd be holding. You almost have to rest it on something, on a pillow or something, if you're using it in your lap, because it's so heavy. You know, you couldn't just read a book on this. You'd get fatigued fairly quick. But I mean, touch responsive, swiping in from the edge. It's very responsive. It's a fast machine. But in terms of tablet usability, it's kind of like it works, but you know, it's like holding 3 iPads at once in order to get an experience, which, you know, it's not. In my opinion, it's not. This device doesn't excel at tablet mode. So that's the Thinkpad Yoga. Let's look at the Surface, though. The Surface features the ability to actually come off of the keyboard and be used as a tablet device. Okay, so if you notice the aspect ratio, it's a 2:3 aspect ratio. It's a little bit wider than before, which makes it easier to take notes across the screen. It's supposed to be the size of a pad of paper. This is very light. This is 1.7 pounds once you have the keyboard off. And if you think about it, the first generation iPad with 3G was 1.6 pounds. So it's about the weight of an iPad 1, which is pretty awesome. Very light. I don't have any issues holding this with one hand, number one, and kind of just using it however, using the pen and, you know, just kind of jostling this device around as a tablet. It's really nice for that. Super responsive. You know, you got an Ultrabook here in this form factor. Very light. So tablet mode, this thing definitely wins over the Thinkpad Yoga. So let's put it back on its case. So now let's talk about laptop mode on these devices. For one, the Thinkpad, right off the bat, we know it's going to win. It's got a rigid hinge, which lets you use this thing exactly like you would any other notebook, which is really great for, you know, just if you want to use a computer, you want to use it professionally, you want to, you know, program or get something done and type. This is really easy to just pick up, open up, and use on your lap and start writing in Word or whatever. Now, that said, you know, that can go on your lap fairly easy. Let's look at this device. Let's pretend you have it in your box. If you want to get down to it and use some pretty serious typing, you know, you can open it up, which is nice because the wedge sticks right here. But then you have to flip that up, and you got to lift this up, and then you got to adjust it. So it's not too bad. So you know, that's really not too bad to have to use, unless it's on your lap. And let's take a look at it on the lap and see how that looks. Okay, so Surface Pro 3 test. You got your device, you pull it out, flip up your hinge. The nice thing about it is that it's adjustable to any level. So the first thing that's kind of awkward is there's not quite enough room. I'm shorter, and I'm sure there's shorter people than me though. I'm just 5'7", and it barely fits on the edge of my knees, which is probably fine. You know, I feel pretty comfortable with it like this. And it's very usable. I can do what I need to do. So it's not too bad at all. And you've probably seen someone crossing their legs on that video, on the animated GIF that I can't remember who put it out, whether it was Mashable or Engadget or something, of someone crossing their legs with this device. I mean, you'd have to be pretty exaggerated to get that out. Plus, with 150-degree mode, this will kind of hook over your leg. And because there's 4 magnets in place, this thing actually is going to hook on in several different places. You know, you got 4 methods of support, and then this on the back. This thing's not going anywhere, you know. And as long as you hold it, if you swap your legs, you know, it's really pretty sturdy. It's not going to go anywhere. That said, it's a little awkward. This is up high. I'm relying on this on the back. The plus is you've got a lot more positions you could work with, but it doesn't feel completely stable. It's really good, but you know, it's not exactly what you want. But it really does the job, I think, in probably 95% of use cases. In fact, I'm actually pretty impressed while I'm sitting here using this. And I really kind of like it. I'm impressed at how well, that this keyboard is staying on. Now with the 4 magnetic points, but it actually is working much better than I thought it would. This is kind of my first experience using it on a lap, and it's really not bad at all. So I kind of like that. But that said, it's not the same as just having something that you can just lift up and use. So let's take a look at the Thinkpad Yoga. So as you can see, easy peasy. You know, it's done. Everything feels like it's in place. You know, it's a laptop on your lap. You know, that's what a laptop's for. It works great. So it's what you'd expect. So this is great in terms of a laptop mode. Okay, so when it's all said and done, these are both great devices, although in terms of using this as a tablet, the Surface Pro 3 definitely wins out. The Thinkpad Yoga, if you want to use it as a tablet, occasionally works in a pinch, but it's really more, you know, standard laptop that has capability to be a tablet, where I feel like the Surface Pro 3 is a great tablet that has capability to be a laptop usability case. But that said, I feel like the Surface Pro 3 is a lot better notebook, traditional notebook on a lap, than the Thinkpad is a tablet in your hand, just because of the weight difference. So for me, I'm actually, well, obviously I'm moving on to the Surface Pro 3 from the Thinkpad Yoga. And I was actually very surprised at how good this does work in your lap. Thanks for watching. We'll have more Surface Pro 3 videos. We're kind of going crazy with all the videos for the Surface Pro 3, and I hope this video helps you make decisions on what your next device might be.